So, hi Ian.
Hi.
Welcome back to Multicore World. So, it has been an interesting conference so far. But why are you coming? What do you find interesting? It is not your traditional career.
Yeah, well, that's probably exactly the reason why I do come is to try and learn a lot more about these systems and what is exascale, what are all these different computing systems. I thought been some really good discussions about digital twins, for example, and trying to work out, well, what are they, what are the challenges, and certainly in the agriculture horticulture sector we have huge challenges in terms of how we might create these types of models. We're dealing with sparse data, we're dealing with dynamic systems. There's a whole lot of things that I think we can really learn, and it's good to see the sorts of scale of some of the things that people here are achieving. So
But who is not here that should be? We don't need to name names, but
No,
you
no.
know my quest about trying to build an
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yep.
And if I manage to invite you,
Hmm.
what should be doing in order to make a stronger intersection between this community and the one that we believe needs to be the future of agri-tech for New Zealand?
That's a difficult question, and I guess the thing is that I suppose I recognise that these are skills that I don't have. This is knowledge that I don't have. Maybe I've always kind of travelled more and tried to get ideas from other people, and I think I just see this as part of that process. And I think it's just trying to encourage people to get ideas from other groups, and that it's really important. Get a different perspective, understand the perspective of other groups, etc. So,
But this is still a sort of scientist or academic type of response, and I'm being a little bit cheeky on that, which means, okay, let's open our minds. That's
Yep.
standard, but in a strategic way. I mean,
Okay.
we're trying to build, we're
Okay.
trying to avoid certain things to happen with the primary sector, with its usage
Yeah.
of data, and well, avoid being technology dependent.
yeah, but I guess from a personal point of view, I'm kind of been a bit spat out the other end of the science system. I'm now doing things on my own, and like having paying for coming to these sorts of conferences on my own. And to be honest, I think spending money on this type of event is actually more beneficial to me than. But it's not that I'm thinking there's going to be a short-term benefit. I think it's really how do we. There's still a lot of work that we need to do in terms of how do we plan these sorts of systems. There's a whole lot of work, there's a whole lot of groundwork, and we need to be almost educated before we even do the groundwork. And so how do we get that information? And that's really, those are the sorts of things. So even though a lot of the things that we're talking about here, I see them as long term, I think there's still a lot of short term messages for me in terms of my own business and just around the data interoperability, the usability. I mean, there was comments made about usability and value. I see a big linkage between usability and value of data. I think most people overvalue data, but there are many in the primary sector. I think there are many different layers. So the whole thing is worth a lot, but individually it's not worth so much, and we've got to get that equation right as well.
Do you think that there is a big gap between what we in the IT world see as the potential of our technologies versus the technology that the primary sector gets from their vendors?
Oh yeah, I mean, you and I have had a few conversations about the maturity or the over-maturity of systems in the agricultural sector, and I think that's partly a reflection of the rate of uptake, etc., etc. But what's actually offered to the sector is often, I think, somewhat a bit behind the times, and I think, say, with data, with spatial data, I think that's happening now as well. That we're now.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right on that offering behind the times. But how do we educate the buyer? Sometimes the government, sometimes organizations, which they need something to set up. I don't know, the production line today. What we're offering today is still a little bit towards the future.
Yep.
It's a tricky transition.
Yeah, that's for sure, and I think there's maybe things that we can do by stages, by bit by bit. But one of the things I'm trying to do, for example, is get some of the horticultural industries to work through the different layers of the industry. So you've got the grower, the individual grower, you've got the pack houses, you've got the marketing body, trying to get them to see that there is advantage in them working together rather than being at odds. And I think that's where, if we can get the value, we can realise the value for the whole industry, and then everyone else can see their part and where they're actually getting value. But that again is a long-term play.
But it's still a standard business proposition.
Yeah.
Like, we are entrepreneurs. We will make it happen. Thank you very much, Ian.
Okay, thanks, and thanks for organising this. It's been
My
really
pleasure.
good. Yeah.
Bye-bye.